our first panelists. I think most, they're welcome to sit there or get up. I'm going to go back and sit down. So the first panelist, I'm very pleased, my law school classmate, Lynn Overlander, who works for a little-known publication called The New Yorker. For those of you who are not from New York, it's a magazine with literature, art, images, and I think when you look at the magazine world, it stands for more than anything else quality. That means quality of the images, quality of the cartoons, quality of the text. And Lynn, I think, as a lawyer personally, has one of the coolest jobs in publishing because she gets to be the general counsel of the New Yorker. So, Lynn?
Like it's on, yes? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have one of the coolest jobs in law.
Yes.
Not just publishing. Thank you for having me and welcome. I'm going to start with a little anecdote, which will, I think, sound familiar, sadly, to everyone here. A few years ago, and really, maybe I should say many years ago, because we do not do this now, but a few years ago, there was a mandate to our web team to try to find as much sort of content that they could for free, because of course, like everyone else, we were under budget constraints. And one of the places that they were looking for, free content, perhaps, was on Flickr. So this anecdote takes place at the time of the Iranian sort of revolution that did not go anywhere, and we were writing a number of posts about what was happening in Iran at the time. And I, a junior and young web editor came and said, we found these terrific shots of what's going on in Iran right now. Look at them, we're going to put them up with the story. And we found them on Flickr, and they are free for all. It was a Creative Commons license that said that anybody could use it for any time. And so we're good, right? So I took a look at these photos, and in fact, they were beautiful. They were stunning. They were so unbelievably stunning about what was going on the ground in Iran that there was no way in hell that the photographer, or the Flickr site owner who claimed that he had taken these and whose Flickr name was something like John at the Beach, possibly have been the photographer. And I went to look at John at the Beach's other photo sets, because really that's not my area of expertise, photo research or any of this, but it was clear he had these beautiful shots of the Iranian Revolution, and then he had pictures of John at the beach, his dog surfing, all sorts of things that suggested that this man was not actually an international photojournalist. So I suggested to the junior web editor that perhaps we could not actually run these photos, and I then spent another 3 minutes, and literally it did not take very long to discover that what John at the Beach had done was just gone to I think it was a Google photo feed of news images taken from AP and Reuters and a number of other wire agencies, and he liked the photos, so he just put them on his own Flickr account and then tagged it with a free-for-all. And of course, no photographer's credit. So we did not use those photos, and the sort of experiment with going to Flickr for content was foreshortened because there was really very little way that we could figure out who were the photographer and who held the rights, and the New Yorker is and has actually always been very, very protective of creators, artists, photographers, writers' rights. The vast majority of our content that we use is not, and a lot of people think it's work for hire, it's not. The photographer, everyone keeps their rights, they keep their copyright. The New Yorker gets a limited set of rights, and we use them, we try to use them to the extent that we get the rights, but the creators do in fact keep their rights and are able to exploit them into the future after a period of exclusivity, usually and things like that. So just start by saying that we are, in fact, a big supporter. We think that the reason the New Yorker has the reputation it does is because of the content creators, the artists and the photographers and shooters and everyone else, and the writers who work with the editors, of course, but who really produce the magazine. Which brings me to my second point. Magazine is, of course, we are still the New Yorker magazine, but it's a little bit of a misnomer at the moment. Somewhere, I have one slide, and I don't know if it's loaded up, but the one slide will show, there we go, the what has gone on with the New Yorker, as with many other publications in the last several years. And we now come out with a print edition, and I don't see that going away for quite a while, but we also come out with the New Yorker in many other formats. And obviously we have a website, we have our archive, we have the Kindle, we have the Nook, we're on the iPad, we're on the tablet, the Samsung tablet, we're on the Kindle, did I say Kindle already? And now we're on the 3.5-inch phone. And we have had, and that has required a change in the way we license content. We no longer, we only license content that is cross-device in all, that is for use in all formats, in all media. We don't do add-ons by technology. We won't buy just print rights plus tablet rights plus web rights or print rights and electronic rights. We want to be clear that we have the right to use the content we're licensing across everything that we're doing now and everything that we can be putting out, something like the New Yorker in the foreseeable future. And that has created some, I mean, it's been a developing process. But at this point, I can say plainly that if we can't get electronic rights, however you define them, we're not going to be buying the content. We cannot do a print-only anything at the moment. Now, conversely, we do have, we also, on our website, we are running some things that won't be in the magazine, and so sometimes we, of course, do license just for the web for other titles. But in terms of the brand, in terms of the magazine, we now have to license full on. Now, one of the questions that's come up, of course, and again, this has also been a change, is how do you pay for those additional uses? Well, our perspective is that this is all one magazine, and it is reaching one set of readers. And as many of you know, if you're a subscriber, you can get the digital edition, the tablet edition, for free. With your subscription, you get the print or tablet. And we don't think that we should be paying, frankly, an add-on for each of these other new technologies. We prefer, makes more sense to us, to view it as a audience-driven price. And if our circulation increases, our readership increases, then we would see that we think that then there would be a bump up in terms of what we're paying for, in terms of photos or in terms of content. So that is where we are there. We also, and I think many of you know this, when we acquire rights, we acquire promotional and advertising rights as well, but only in the context of how it was originally used. So I was also asked, I think, to talk about some of our ongoing issues. One of the issues that we're trying to deal with is that we do commission, so obviously we use stock, we go to stock houses sometimes, and we do other things, but we commission plenty of work, plenty of photographs, and one of the questions that's come up is how do we, what kind of rights set do we get for photojournalism when we commission a work? If we're going to pay for somebody to go to Iran or somewhere else and to do a shoot, the photographer, as we said, retains their rights, but we also want the ability to use those photos that we have commissioned, essentially, for the current story, and then use the outtakes or the same photo that we publish down the line. If news changes and they become relevant, we want to be able to put those up on the web and not to have to relicense them, since, and to our mind, these are things that we essentially commissioned and helped in the creation of. So that is, so we're trying to figure out how best to manage our desires to be able to do that, but also, frankly, as I said, we feel really strongly about the fact that photographers should be able to make a living, because then if they can't, then we're not going to have anyone to take these photos for us to go to these places and do this. And so the question becomes, how do we manage our desire to use this and the photographer's desire to use them as well? And that's one of the things that we are trying to figure out. We are also, a number of questions sometimes come up with, we are of course known for the photographs, but we're really, cartoons are a very popular part of the New Yorker, and that is also something that we have a long history of working with for many, many, many years. I mean, this is going back to the beginning of the New Yorker. Cartoons, we run the cartoons, and then plenty of people, textbooks, magazines, other magazines want to, reading card companies would like to use those same cartoons in their products. And for many, many years, the New Yorker helped facilitate those licenses on the behalf of the cartoonist, and it was almost completely a pass-through. So the textbook publisher would contact the New Yorker would contact the cartoonist, a deal would be made, the money would then go straight through to the cartoonist, and it was seen as, and is still seen as, a way of helping the cartoonists make a living, which, like photographers, was really quite important to us. And the Cartoon Bank, which is the licensing arm, was set up for that reason, really as a way of helping the cartoonists make a living. Now, we have had some reorganization, some movement, and the Cartoon Bank is part of Condé Nast now, but it works in a very similar way. There is the cartoonists maintain their rights in the cartoons. We do not, they sign a separate contract with the Cartoon Bank that allows the Cartoon Bank to go out and license the cartoons. But this is for textbooks, but it's also for prints, etc. And they get a cut of every sale. It is purely a function of contract and negotiation, and that is how we are working now. The cartoonists would like to make more money, and we would like them to make more money. And so, like I think many people here, we are trying to figure out how best can we promote the images, promote the cartoonists, how can we get the revenue up for everybody, especially for the creators, so that we can maintain the art of cartooning. So I had a yellow card, so I'm going to sort of draw to a close. I'm happy to take any questions. We are also, the New Yorker is also experimenting with Instagram and with our photo blog and other ways of putting out, and we have a limited set of images that we run in the magazine, and we're trying to figure out ways of expanding that audience and through social media and through our blog, and we are paying for those uses, and so far some of them have been very successful, and others we're still working on. But, thank you very much.